This map is actually favored for Protoss fast expanding, but personally as a Zerg player, I like when Protoss fast expands. So let's get through with the intros real quick. In the bottom left position, also known as the 7 o'clock position, we have our purple Protoss, DeaconBlues, starting off by mining minerals as everybody likes to. And as in the bottom right position, we have our yellow Zerg taking the Imba color for Terran, actually. The Imba color for Zerg is green. We don't know what the Imba color for Protoss is. I think it's pink, though. So neither player going with their Imba colors, but KingOfTales starting off the game as the yellow Zerg in the bottom right corner, also known as the 5 o'clock position. This being the 6 o'clock position. And there is an Overlord. Sending out a Pro Scout on the pylon. I personally don't like this. Against Protoss, against a Zerg as Protoss is probably a little bit better to do that. But seeing as, if you're worried about early pools or that kind of thing, but seeing as most Zergs will play you straight up, in this tournament especially, you should probably send that Probe Scout out more on the gateway. Instead of having to pull another probe off the line, have it wait for the gateway to work in, and then bring the probe back. As you can see, early pool for a Zerg player. Going pool first. The question is, will he drop that Vespene Geyser, or is he going to go and grab his natural? Looking at the numbers, he should be going for Vespene Geyser. No, looks like he's going to go for natural. Typically, you expand on natural at 15. Now, as Protoss, you don't want to you want to deny this area, especially if there is a drone following you, because there's a possibility that when you turn to go up this ramp, he'll just turn that drone around and drop the hatchery. But you don't want to have to be forced into building a pylon in order to do that. That's like worst case scenario. You build a pylon. Zerg player making sure he doesn't get supply blocked pretty good on his part. Still has not decided what he wants to do. He really needs to take a gas if he wants speedlings, or he needs to expand. But instead, he's just spending money, and that's the wrong thing to do. I know a lot of people like to say, "Well, I'm keeping my money low." Yes, but you don't really actually have a plan in what you're doing. And see, here's the drone scout just dropping off. Really late hatchery though at 18. So without actually meaning to, the Protoss did deny that that base. Zealot is coming out, so it'll be perfectly timing for these Zerglings. If you do not see that there's an early pool, you can just drop a pylon there and wait until Stalker comes out. And Stalker or Sentry will be able to actually hold this area off with a combination of force fields and the DPS that they can put out. It'll be too much. Protoss player is kind of boosting out the Warpgate research, but he did not save up enough Chronoboost to constantly do that. A little bit of a blunder on his part. If you're going to do this, if you're going to do a constant warp Chronoboost of the Cybernex core, you do not actually, and that's a bad idea. No matter how much a Zergling attacks the gateway, you do not move Zealot out, because there could be another Zergling right down here who just runs on by, and then he sees exactly what you're building. That's the biggest thing for Protoss and Terran players in the early game against Zerg. Zerg is a reactionary race. You do not want them knowing what you are going for. Now, it looks like with this 2 gas and these 2 gateways, I would immediately say as a Zerg player, well, he's obviously going to go towards a Robo-Bag, which he probably should, but instead he's sending up this probe, probably to do a little bit of proxying, dropping some pylons. Pretty smart idea on his part, but the big thing with proxy pylons is normally you want to do them if you're going to do early aggression. If not, then you're probably just sending your probe scout out to die. Either that, he's just trying to get a lot of scouting, which is very interesting. The Zerg player is droning pretty hard, so he did drop these 2 spine crawlers. Pretty smart on his choice. Need to get up that queen a little bit faster though, because the Protoss denied the queen over here for so long. You can build another queen here, and then you can send it down here and drop 1 creep tumor right here, so that way it can quickly connect the 2 bases, and your queens can easily run between these 2 bases. Probe does die, but I did see the early Rotorn. The Rotorn really wasn't a good choice. You still have a lot of time before you really need it. And another spine crawler going down. So playing ultra safe, and just droning. It's a smart, safe choice for these early leagues. You need to pull units off this extractor though, if he's not going to be building a lot of roaches or banelings for a while. Protoss is pushing out. The Zerg should know after that Zergling dies that the Protoss most likely is going to be expanding. That's why you get 4 Zerglings, 2 to kind of like sit back here, and then you can like send it in. Wander off now. Video just finished. I gotta start encoding it. Friend messaging me. Fun. But the Protoss player looks to expand. Once again, if you expand, you have a lot of production buildings, such as this double robotic, these 3 robotics, this 1 robotics bay and these 3 gateways, warp gates now. You might have to cut a little bit of production. I wouldn't suggest cutting probe production, but you know, maybe cutting you know, like zealot or soccer production. That way you can get this up a little bit faster, and that way you can really get that strong economy going. Also, there's good saturation over here. I don't believe, yeah, it's fully saturated. It's actually slightly oversaturated, but just slightly, so it's not that big a deal. This is when you take these 2 nexus, put them on the same hotkey, and rally them both to the same mineral patch. That way you can have a constant stream of probes, and then you just click 1 hotkey. So for this player, it would be 3, so you can click 3, and then you just double tap E, and he would be good. Is getting up a gateway, nice little choke right here, very smart move, and using that forward very effectively. Does have 1 observer with his army that will deny any possible roach movement. Now normally you can wall off if a player is going for like an fast expand, but in this case it's still good use of the wall off, and it doesn't get him that 4th gateway. He should probably get 5th or 6th gateway. The Zerg player, now being to get some units after getting this over defense basically. Never really connecting these 2 bases, but he is being out creep. Looks to expand, needs to also make sure that he, once again, doesn't constantly build everything so that way he can drop that expansion right away, so like right now. Good timing for an expansion. Roaches are out, going to units. The Harvester Scout. Zerg is, he has had the 2nd base longer. Overseer coming out. You don't want, Queens can't chase Observers, and Overseers can't do damage, so you don't really want that Overseer flying off. Because if DTs did run in right now, well, yes, you have an Overseer over here, but now it's going to fly all the way back here, and there's a lot of dead drones. Now there's a lot of larvae sitting there. He did make use of that. Going to the production tab, that's 14 roaches. Going back to the unit counting station, he's actually perfect when it comes to harvesters, when it comes to harvest saturation. So, good idea. This is a good idea with these queens. Just drop creep. I mean, yeah, you might have like an overabundance of creep tumors, but it's better to have an overabundance of creep tumors than no creep tumors. He does have an overseer, overlord back here, which is really good. You can see these probes and everything. Really knows what the Protoss player is up to. I'd like to see him fly in though over here, you know, over in the main, because usually that's where most players, especially if they walled off this front, they won't put all their tech buildings down here. They'll put them all up in here. Now the Protoss player does need to turn these into warp gates so we can really start getting those units going into Colossus tech and also getting +2 attack. He looks to have already got +1 armor. Really smart move. Really giving those stalkers a lot more health and a lot more durability against roaches, which he did see with that other observer. Overseer flying around, needs to bring it back over to here. Roaches pushing out, looking at the unit counting station, 30 roaches to 6 sentries, 3 stalkers, and 4 zealots. Good idea, push out when your third's coming up. Needs to continue to connect these 2 bases, maybe have an overlord spread creep right in here so you can jump this creep tumor right up in there. but does do a really smart thing and send all his overlords out to spread creep on all the bases. So that way he knows when the Protoss takes his third, which you really need to deny as a Zerg player. You really do not want the Protoss player to take his third. It's kind of interesting that we're 14 minutes in though and haven't seen any aggression at this point. I would have liked to have seen maybe some poking and prodding from the Protoss player. You could have saved that blink. It does recharge pretty quickly, but still, blinking, you might want to save it. That way you can catch these infestors off guard. Like maybe his infestors get too close to his army, well then I can blink on top of his infestors. Getting Neural Parasite, good idea, especially when you have this much minerals. Needs to make sure, yes, full saturation. Needs to get guys on gas gear and can probably take his fourth right now. You have enough minerals. Your army's in the middle of the map, so it can kind of defend from this. Sorry about that. Forgot to bring up the supply counts. But the Zerg player, much higher supply as to be expected, especially with these supply-heavy roaches. Still never really connected his main to his natural, so any late game DTs or anything like that, and he needs to bring a queen from the natural over, take a really long time. Has already gotten up to high tech, so lots of roaches being produced as well. Some infestors coming out on top of that, and now that he's at high tech, he can just get that next level of attack. And 3/3 roaches are very scary unit actually. Plus the field attack finished before ground, making this Colossi a very threatening target. But extended thermal lance just on the way, and you really need to chrono boost this out. Lots of chrono boosts on these Nexus. Has cleared out this third, good third to take, especially with this little death ball. But needs to focus on producing Colossi. He needs to have a constant Colossi in production. He has the money to do it. He just needs to make sure he has the supply to do that. With the 6 supply that the Colossi cost, it could sometimes take a bit and catch you off guard. Is this probe alive though? Very nice control of the broken that losing it. Should have brought it back towards the army. Senator Lance halfway done. 18 roaches on the way. He really should have gotten corruptors. I know he has capacity for Neural Parasite, and that is done. Free attack is on the way. Here comes the first case. And now the question is how many fungals will go down? One good fungal. Now they do have Neural Parasite on these units. Use the fungal again though. There you go. Another fungal. Never really used that blink effectively. Then all these roaches picked up and then just attack right into the boss side. You really do not have the armor to put up with that many roaches. If we look back at the unit counting station, 45 roaches, 6 infestors, pushing out with these roaches, denying that base, dropping more creeps so that way they cannot build any more bases. There you go. Target down that Nexus. Needs to cancel it. He's not going to be able to defend. Looking back at the unit counting station, 10 more drones on the way. Going to the income tab, lots of harvesters, getting that fourth base up. There's a small force of stalkers, but he could just fungal these stalkers all day, and then just drop infested Terran. More stalkers on the way. Gonna get picked off though. Not really a good use of the stalkers. It's just buying in time really. But yep, there it is. GG, well played. Just really lost that death ball. Didn't really have any good blinks in. He had a chance to blink in and kill off those infestors with those stalkers, and you could just focus fire down those stalkers and have really helped out the Protoss player in this. But the Zerg player had really good upgrades, really well played by the Zerg player, and good creep spread for the lower leagues.